David, welcome back to the show. Appreciate you joining us again. I'd like for you, David, just real quick, give the guests, watching the show, just a brief overview of what REVS is all about and what you guys do. It's been a while. You've been on the show a lot, but it's been a while since you've had the opportunity to kind of reintroduce yourself. So I'm going to turn it over to you to do that, just real quick.
Well, great to be here. Thanks, Andrew. REVS is I like to say, has a very easy business plan to understand. We're solving a problem for multifamily owners that every one of them have. And what's that problem? They are going to need to have EV charging stations so they can refuel their residents' cars where they live. This is the preferred method of refueling your car. And every property has got the same problem. They do not have the infrastructure put in place and never intended to need to have electricity to fuel their residents' cars. So what REVS does is we are building a national network of EV charging stations in multifamily properties around the country, where we'll own them and operate them. And if the property owner doesn't want us to own them, we'll be glad to do everything, install them and manage them and service them for them, because nobody really knows what they're doing yet in that regard.
Which is so interesting, because electric vehicles, Teslas had been around for a while, and you'd think that it would kind of be at a point now where the standards are similar or the same, and so it would start to standardize. If you go to a gas station, you're using the same fuel pump. Are there any charging standards between the Tesla superchargers out there, but you go to a Kroger or an HEB to charge your car, and that's different. So how do the chargers differ from company to company? Are there any standards out there?
Well, I would say that the industry tried to have standards. Okay, just very similar to your iPhone. That little plug that goes in there is different for your Samsung based phones and your Apple based phones. So that's kind of what we have going on in the EV charging industry. However, as you may have heard, Tesla has kind of upset the apple cart after getting many of the car manufacturers to accept their type of plug that they're going to put on their EV charging stations. Tesla last week basically said that they were rethinking their EV charging business, and they've had a massive round of layoffs, as most people, and they have basically, as my understanding is, let go of the DC fast charging team and many in the level 2 charging team, and this did not come as a surprise to me.
Really,
I thought it was a matter of time. Look, Mr. Musk is the genius of our times. He is solving the world's greatest problems. And transportation is just one of them. Electricity is just one of them. He's into so many other things. And quite frankly, providing EV charging services is no longer one of the world's greatest problems. He had to do it when he started his company to have a proof of concept and to get the business going. But now there are many people making all kinds of level 2 and level 3 charging stations. And so it begs a question, why would Tesla continue to spend their resources on charging now that there's a bunch of other companies that are capable in handling it? So as far as getting to your question, is there a standard? Well, yes and no. There was, but it was a two answer solution, and I think that's where we're going to be for a while, if you ask me. I think that it's not an inconvenience. Look, for the people that need one type of connection, and the charging station only has the other one, they'll go get an adapter. An adapter works really easy. They're very inexpensive. In fact, Tesla used to give you adapters with their cars so you could charge at any station. So it's not that big a deal at the end of the day.
David, back to what Tesla's decision to lay off, the charging staff. Unpack that just a little bit more for me, because I don't really understand that. So Tesla was in the business of providing charging solutions for everybody else, and they've stopped doing that. Is that what you're saying?
Well, so Tesla, when they started, they had to show everyone, look, you can charge these cars, and
Mm-hmm.
they set out on their initiative to be the leader in EV charging, and there are several types of chargers that they manufacture. Level 3 chargers as well as level 2 chargers, as well as they had their own software that went into those chargers. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm at this point, I'm unclear as to whether they will continue to manufacture chargers or not. But they had
Gotcha.
developed a very large staff of people um, within Tesla that was handling their EV charging business, and many of those people are no longer there. So
That's interesting because
it,
when the articles and the news stories came out about that, it was they were suggest what the articles and everything that I read about it was suggesting that because of the economy, Tesla's laying people off. But you're saying this is a business decision that you saw coming, where Tesla's just out of a certain sector of what they were doing, which is not profitable anymore, I guess.
so most of the news has been on the level 3 chargers, the DC fast, the super network that Tesla's doing, and
Yep.
Tesla is that's not my business, so I'm not as familiar with it. But that's been the one that's garnered most of the headline news. But the level 2 is represents about 80% of the chargers that will be put up in this country, and it's a
Mm,
easy hardware to make, and the
right.
software is not that difficult. So I always, at least with regards to my business, always wondered why Tesla was in it, and they were very tough to compete with because they had different cost of capital than we did, and
Right.
so they do things to just get market share. So I'm actually glad to see them leave the level 2 market, but
Interesting.
they've basically said on the supercharger network they'll continue to work on the stations that they've built around the country and continue to deal with those, but they've pulled out of a lot of other deals that they were working on that they hadn't started construction yet.
Interesting. Okay, so it's a big news in the EV world. You said earlier that you can use an adapter to put onto a different type of charger. How many different types are out there?
Well, there's a few of them, okay, but the main ones, the primary ones, are the J1772, and then what they call the NACS, which is the one Tesla was advocating and got all the manufacturers to do. So there's a third one called a Cameo, which we don't see very often in the business. It's pretty much been phased out uh,
Mm-hmm.
with the new connectors.
Gotcha. So
Really, just
there's not as many. There's two or three then
yeah, yeah,
that are the main ones.
yeah.
That's interesting. And then from an operational standpoint, these charging stations that get put in, are they pretty reliable? Are there any inoperability issues that creep up on these over time? What does the maintenance look like on
Oh
a
yeah.
charging station?
Well, it's that's a great question, Andrew, because it's all over the board. It's all over the board. I
Yeah.
mean, are they reliable? Yes, most of them are reliable. You hear a lot of news about them going down, about stations not working, and actually, we find that when a station's not working, it's usually just a couple of problems. One problem is the circuit breaker needs flipping. The second problem is
Kind
the
of easy.
software vendor has updated their software, and the machines have gone offline when that happened.
Uh,
Unintended consequence of updating software.
yeah.
Okay. And we find a lot of charging stations go out on that. And then the last one seems to be the cell signal, or will it, how do you get it, get it working, because of, most of them rely on a Wi-Fi signal or a cell signal. And
Gotcha.
sometimes the those change. So
And
it's always a challenge to keep them up. But that's what
yeah,
REVS
and then
does. We keep
that's
them
what
up.
you do. Yeah, that was my last question. I've already run out of time. But my last question was, we'll go overtime. Are you guys connected to the whole network? So everything you guys put in, you can see a dot on the map, see who's live, see who's off, and so you're constantly monitoring this. That's part of the business.
We do, but it's very interesting because we have a portal with all of our vendors that show, we can go in and see what the stations are and doing, but for some reason that's not always an accurate portal.
Yeah.
We find out that the vendor, that we're not seeing the same thing that the vendor's seeing, and that's problematic.
Big surprise.
And
Yeah.
and nobody knows it, by the way. That's the problem. And so until we point it out to them, they don't even know there's a problem there. And these are all early industry issues. Okay,
Yep.
they will all disappear, but
Yep.
it's no different than the cell phone adoption in the '90s. Lots of problems, lots of frustrations, but
100%.
now it's become very reliable. So.
Well, David, always good to have you on the program. Really appreciate it. And we're going to take a short break. We'll be right back.
Thank you. Well, so much for our agenda. So much for our